Okay, for some reason, we just lost what we had been filming. Hopefully it saves somewhere in my Screencastify folder on my Google Drive. Otherwise, I'll have to remake the first portion of this after school tonight. So we are finishing up with what we're currently working on. The class and you were working on different pieces, making different types of fractions. This may mean that since you do not have a partner at home, you will have to make more strips. Ethan, please have a seat. Okay, so getting back to what we were working on, this is where we left off. And some of you were saying, well, I don't have that many pieces. And then some of you started really realizing a bunch of information with this. And I think this was a little confusing because I didn't tell you what was happening on this side of the equal sign. So here we have changing mixed numbers into fractions greater than 1. Here we had been changing fractions greater than 1 into mixed numbers. So here we're changing them from one form to another, but they still mean the same thing. So we have 2 left that we were working on. And many students started figuring out if I have the whole unit of 1, how many 16ths is this unit?
16.
Thank you. 16 16ths. And I also have 8 16ths. So what is 16 16ths plus 8 16ths? Luke. 24 16ths. We kept the 16. We didn't change how it was. We didn't change it into something else. We're still working with 16ths. So it is the improper fraction for 1. Excuse me a moment. Okay, we're back. Got to get to the right spot here. We've got a lot of stuff up. Okay, so then our last mixed number that I asked you to work with was 2 2/4. If we're working with 2 2/4, what kind of fraction are we working with? Or what is our whole unit broken into? Adrian. Did you forget? But you tried. Thank you for trying. Grace was going to try. Are you going to try? Okay, so right now we're not understanding what we're breaking our mixed number into. So if I'm going to make this, and I need to borrow somebody else's number 1 strip, somebody close to me. Thank you. I just grabbed Anna's, whether she wanted me to or not. So here is 1, 2, 1/4, 2/4. So what kind of here's a 4th and a 4th. What kind of fractions could be going into that one? How many? How would I cut this? Anna doesn't want me to cut hers apart, but if I'm going to cut it apart, what size pieces am I going to put it into according to the fractions I already have? David.
1/2.
Good try. Good try. Akaya? 1/4, because I already have 4ths here. So we have 1/4. How many 4ths go into this one? This whole unit. Show me with fingers, people. That way, if you don't know, you can look at someone else's fingers. Okay, so a lot of people have 4 fingers in the air. We have 4ths. If I was going to cut my unit into 4 equal pieces, I would have 4ths. So now I have how many 4ths in this piece? How many 4ths in this piece? Okay, Tucker. 4. How many 4ths in this piece? 4. So what's 4 plus 4 plus how many do I have here? 2. So I have 4 plus 4 plus 2 equals what? 10. 10/4. Because we're not really understanding this, let's work on this again. Okay, so this time we're going to do 1 3/8. So make 1 3/8 at your seat. Here's your 1 unit. Make 1 3/8. What do you need?
Okay, so 3/8. I know exactly what to do. 1 3/8. No matter what, we're gonna get it right. We need 8.
Yeah, I see some people have it written down. Some people I've already heard say that they know. If I have a fraction, oh goodness, if you could only hear some of the conversations going on here, because we have some really good ones happening. Okay, if I'm going to make the fraction 1 3/8, how would we convert that into a fraction greater than 1 or an improper fraction? What kind of pieces do we use? How do we know what to use? How do we know what to use? That's the first question I want to answer. So quiet in 3. Got a lot of good discussions going on. Quiet in 2. Quiet in 1. The first question we have to answer is this: what would we trade this in for? This is a 1. We're working with eighths. We need to make it into a mixed number. What do we have to do? How do we know what fraction this is getting put into? How do we know what color? Are we using yellow? Are we using blue? Are we using green? Are we using orange? Okay, Millie, you're close. Millie, can you talk about what you think?
Like how we know what we're using?
Yeah.
We know we're using eighths because in the equation it's 3/8, and we know that we can do that.
Okay, so she looked at the denominator. The denominator says that we're working with eighths. And whole units are going to be divided into eighths. These are the leftover units. Remember our number corner lesson this morning. We wrote up ratio tables. And then at the very end, we went to having a remainder. And we learned how the remainder is made into a fraction. So if we were going to draw that like this morning, I have all of this one. So I have 1 3/8. When we're talking about an improper fraction or a fraction greater than 1, we're counting all of these pieces. So those of you that aren't certain what to do, I hope you understand that we divided this 1. See, right here's our 1. We divided it into 8 pieces because it tells us that right here. And so then we simply add, because this equals 8/8, as Millie said, we simply add 8 plus 3. 8 plus 3 is 11/8. One last time. Last one. Yay. Okay, so let's do 2 4/16. 2 and 4/16. Build your fraction, but what is our red one going to be changed into? What's our whole unit going to be changed into?
Well, this is our 16/16. Yeah, but do you want to do 32 of them? No.
And how many more do you have? How many do you have? How many are this one? So we have. Yeah, but how many? Okay, you have how many are in this one?
Oh, it's 32.
32 plus what?
4 equals 36. We need 36. So the answer is 36.
Okay, working with this again, I had talked to a few different groups. So I'm going to ask everybody to quiet themselves in 3. Quiet in 2. David's table is quiet too now. Thank you. So if I would have to borrow Anna's again. I only have one. Oh, no, I don't. I can walk over here and get one and have my own. Now I have 2. And if I'm going to build this mixed number, 1, 2, 3, 4. I know that I have 4/16. But what about this one? If I'm going to make this one into a fraction, what pieces, what is my denominator going to be? Ethan. Okay, so it's 16ths. So we have 16ths. It tells us here, 16ths. So, Ethan, how many 16ths are in this one? Do you remember?
16.
Yep. How many 16ths are in this one? Grace? 16. So we have 16 plus 16 plus 4 gives us what? Everybody, I heard a bunch of you tell me this. Tell me again. Everybody? Okay. I'm hoping that this little drawing helped you out a lot so you'll understand what denominator we use. So we'll keep practicing this. We're going to keep using these strips, and eventually to figure out what's missing when we're doing adding and subtracting of fractions, we're going to draw pictures of it. So these pieces are still going to be important. I want you to keep these pieces, putting these pieces back in your plastic bags. You will need these again. I know it's going to take you a little while to sort them, so I'm going to pause, and then we'll come back and talk about our workbook. Okay, so you are going to be turning to page 81 in your workbook. You're going to work on 2, 3, 4, and 5. We have not worked on this much, so I'm not asking you to do this right now without help. I'm expecting you to do this part.